My wife tried to force me to sign over my late mother's house, threatening to take the kids. But the DNA test she bought for Christmas exposed the truth, and her entire plan collapsed in court. When I first met Emily, she was all warmth and sunshine, the kind of person who could walk into a room and make everyone feel lighter. We met in college, dated for 2 years, married in 3, and had what I thought was a perfect little family by year 7. A boy and a girl. A nice home. Stability. Or so I thought. After my mom passed away, she left me her small house, the one she and my dad had built together. It wasn't a mansion, but it meant everything to me. It was filled with old photographs, memories of scraped knees on the porch, the smell of apple pie in the fall. My plan was to renovate it slowly, make it something my kids could inherit someday. But when I brought up the renovation, Emily's tone changed. "You should just sell it," she said one evening, sipping wine. "It's old, outdated. We could use that money for something meaningful, like a new SUV or a trip to Italy." I laughed it off, but she wasn't joking. And over the next few months, the arguments got louder, sharper. Every discussion about money somehow led back to my mother's house. Then, one night, after another exhausting round of, "You care more about that house than your family," she said the words that stopped everything cold. "Sign it over to me, or I'll take the kids." At first, I thought I misheard her. "What? You heard me," she said, crossing her arms. "You're not thinking clearly. It should be in my name. That way, if something happens, the kids are protected." But the way she said it didn't sound like protection. It sounded like leverage. I stared at her for a long moment. The woman I thought I knew was suddenly a stranger. My stomach turned, but I forced a calm smile. "Let me think about it." She nodded, smug, as if she'd won something. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I walked around the dark house, the silence broken only by the soft ticking of the clock my mom had kept since before I was born. And something, I don't know what, told me to stop taking things at face value. Maybe it was her sudden obsession with ownership. Maybe it was how cold she'd become. Maybe it was just instinct. And then I remembered something. Last Christmas, she'd given us both those 23andMe DNA kits, the fun kind that tells you about your ancestry. We'd laughed, spit into tubes, and mailed them off together. She never brought it up again after that. Until now. Because when I opened the email from 23andMe a few days later, something didn't make sense. There was no genetic link to my son or my daughter. At first, I thought it had to be an error. But I checked again, double-checked the kit numbers. Then I froze. Both results matched her. Neither matched me. My hands started shaking. I wasn't their father that I didn't sleep that night. Or the one after. I kept rereading the results, thinking maybe I'd missed something. A clerical mistake, a lab mix-up, anything that could explain it. But every time I logged back into the account, the truth stared back at me with the same cruel precision. I wasn't the biological father of either child. 2 children, 10 years of marriage. A life built on something that was never real. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. I needed to breathe, to think. So I played along, smiled at breakfast, kissed her on the cheek before work, pretended nothing had changed. Inside, though, I was dismantling everything. First, I called 23andMe's customer support line to verify the data. They confirmed everything was accurate. Then I scheduled a private DNA test through an independent lab. When those results came in, they matched the first set exactly. That's when I started digging deeper. Old text backups, bank statements, travel receipts. She'd told me she was visiting her college friend in Denver right around the time our daughter was conceived. But the hotel charge wasn't in Denver. It was in Seattle, and the name on the booking? A man I knew, Greg, her old study partner from grad school. The one she always said was like a brother. I sat there staring at his name, feeling the anger boil up like something toxic. Then, instead of smashing something, instead of shouting, I just wrote it all down. Every date, every transaction, every piece of evidence. Because anger could be used against me. But proof? Proof would end her. A week later, I met with a family lawyer, someone my late mother had trusted. I showed him everything. He read in silence for a long time before leaning back. "She's been playing you for years," he said quietly. "But now you hold all the cards." We started preparing the case, not just for divorce, but for fraud, custody, and asset protection. He advised me to stay calm, act normal, and let her keep believing she had control. And that's exactly what I did. Meanwhile, she started getting impatient about the house. She'd corner me in the kitchen with fake concern, asking, "So, have you thought more about signing it over?" I'd just smile, still thinking. She took that as weakness. But it wasn't. It was strategy. Then one evening, while scrolling through her phone by accident, she'd left it unlocked on the counter. I found messages to Greg. "He's being stubborn about the house. Once it's in my name, I'll leave. Promise." My chest went cold. There it was. Proof of intent. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning to strip me of everything and walk away. That night, as she slept beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. It was over. The marriage, the lies, the illusion of family. But I wasn't going to leave broken. I was going to leave with justice. It happened on a Thursday. Fitting, since Thursdays had always been her spa day. She came home around 6, smelling of perfume and eucalyptus oil, her hair perfect, her smile too rehearsed. "Did you think about the house?" she asked again, tossing her bag on the counter like it was her stage. "Because, honestly, it's not fair that I've spent years raising your kids in a place that technically isn't ours. My lawyer says." "Your lawyer?" I interrupted, my tone calm, but sharp enough to slice through her performance. She blinked, caught off guard. "I mean, our lawyer. You know what I meant." I nodded slowly. "Sure. I've been thinking about it a lot." Her face brightened. "Really?" "Yeah," I said, setting a large brown envelope on the table. "In fact, I made a few phone calls. Thought I'd share some updates." She smiled, the kind of smile people wear when they think they've won. But that smile didn't last long. I slid the first page toward her, the DNA test results. She laughed at first. A nervous, high-pitched sound. What is this?" "A mistake, probably," I said. "Except I ran it twice. Different labs. Same results." Her face went pale. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. "So," I continued quietly, "about those kids. You know, the ones you were planning to take away from me unless I signed over my mother's house." Tears began to form in her eyes. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me," I said, my voice steady. "Whose are they?" She stammered, reached for the papers, flipped through them as if she could somehow erase the truth printed in black ink. "You don't understand. It was before we." "No," I said firmly. "It was during." I checked the timelines. Seattle. Greg. The moment I said his name, her head jerked up. And that's when she knew. She wasn't just caught. She was finished. "Please," she whispered, "we can fix this." "You're right," I said, sliding another envelope across the table. "Divorce papers. I'm fixing it." Her breath hitched. "You can't do this." "What about the kids?" "They'll be fine," I replied. "You'll figure it out. After all, you're good at building new lives on lies." Then I stood up, pocketed my keys, and headed toward the door. Her voice broke behind me. "Wait. Where are you going?" I paused. "To my mother's house. The one you'll never own." I walked out, leaving her sobbing in the kitchen surrounded by the shattered remains of her own manipulation. 2 days later, my lawyer called. "You're not going to believe this," he said. Her attorney reached out. "She's trying to argue emotional distress, says you ambushed her." I laughed, a dry, hollow sound that felt too good. "Let her try? We've got everything documented. Every message, every threat, every lie." He chuckled. "Oh, and one more thing. The judge already ordered temporary custody evaluation. She's not looking good in court." "Good," I said simply. Then I hung up, exhaled, and sat down on the porch of the house my mother had left me. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt something close to peace. But peace doesn't always last. Because a week later, I got an unexpected call, not from her, but from someone else. "Greg." He sounded desperate. "Man, listen, she's losing it. She said she's going to come clean to your family. Tell them you're making it all up. She's out of control." I smiled bitterly. "Let her try? Truth doesn't need defending." And then, in a twist of fate, he added quietly, "She's pregnant again." I didn't respond. I just hung up. The courtroom was cold, not in temperature, but in tone. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones when truth stands taller than lies. She sat 2 rows ahead, her lawyer whispering frantically, but her eyes, those eyes that once convinced me to believe in forever, avoided mine entirely. Across the aisle sat Greg, pale and restless. His tie was crooked, his hands fidgeting. It was poetic justice that the man she chose over honesty now had to testify under oath. The judge called the court to order. We are here to review the matter of custody and property distribution between Mr. and Mrs. Clark, he began. I didn't need to say much. The papers, the DNA tests, and the voice recordings said everything for me. My lawyer stood. Your Honor, before proceeding, we'd like to submit additional evidence. Text messages between the respondent and one Gregory Barnes, confirming not only infidelity, but intent to deceive regarding the paternity of the children. The courtroom went silent. Her attorney tried to object, but it was too late. The messages appeared on the large screen for everyone to see. He thinks they're his. Just a few more months, and I'll have him sign over the house. Once that's done, I'll figure out how to get Greg back into the kids' lives. Every word was a nail sealing the coffin of her credibility. When the judge looked up, his expression was grim. Mrs. Clark, do you wish to contest the authenticity of these messages? She hesitated, tears forming. They're taken out of context. The context seems fairly clear, he said dryly. Greg swallowed hard. Your Honor, I can confirm the messages are real. She asked me to help her keep things quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. My lawyer leaned toward me, whispering, you just won. After the hearing, as I walked out into the hallway, she ran after me. No cameras, no audience, just us, the ghosts of what used to be. Please, she said, grabbing my arm. Don't take them away from me. I made mistakes, but they're all I have. I turned, looked her straight in the eye. You should have thought about that before turning them into pawns. She sobbed, her mascara streaking down her face. You can't hate me forever. I don't, I said softly. I just don't know you anymore. And with that, I walked away for the last time. A few months passed. The divorce finalized. The kids were placed under shared guardianship, though not mine, legally. But I still helped where I could, quietly, from a distance. They didn't deserve the storm she'd created. My lawyer called one afternoon. You'll like this, he said. The judge granted you full ownership of the house. She gets none of the inheritance. It's done. I thanked him, then hung up and sat on the porch again, the same one my mother once rocked me to sleep on. For the first time in what felt like forever, the silence didn't feel empty. Months later, I received a letter. No return address. Just her handwriting. I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't know how to stop lying once I started. You were always the better person. Maybe that's why I tried to control you. I hope you find someone who sees what I couldn't. I didn't reply, but I placed the letter in a drawer beside the DNA results. Not out of spite, but as a reminder that sometimes the greatest betrayal leads to the greatest clarity. And that truth, no matter how painful, will always set you free. 3 years later, I stood outside a small art gallery downtown. The woman beside me, Claire, squeezed my hand gently. You sure you're okay being here? She asked. I smiled. Yeah, it's just closure. Inside, a charity auction was being hosted by a local organization for victims of domestic and emotional abuse. One of the volunteers introduced herself. When she said her name, I froze. It was her. Thinner, older, eyes full of regret. She recognized me instantly, but didn't speak. Just gave a quiet nod, a silent acknowledgement of everything between us. For the first time, I nodded back. Because sometimes forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It just means you've finally moved on.